Charlie Kirk was betrayed by someone close to him. What do you mean?
So many crazy accusations.
I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that.
Was Lance Twiggs more involved than we currently know? Right?
The basis for saying he didn't act alone is what?
I don't know, maybe the weird Fed messages that were concocted out of thin air.
I haven't gotten a chance to articulate clearly what questions I still have.
Discord came out and said they didn't exist.
They posted on social media about it in really, really creepy ways.
They have very strong sources everywhere on both sides.
And none of those people have been held accountable, and I want to know why.
No, it wouldn't be.
It would be.
It wouldn't be.
If that
I kind of feel like we live in a post-Epstein world, and we know how stories get shut down.
So now that we've finally seen days of evidence in the Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing, now all of a sudden Andrew Kolvet has questions. And apparently, some of these are the same questions people have been asking for months. He says he hasn't really even had time to think about asking questions because he's been so busy dealing with all of the accusations that have been thrown his way, Erica Kirk's way, and TPUSA's way. That he had to spend all his time on that. He had no other time to look into if there was other theories of what happened to Charlie Kirk. My honest opinion, I don't really like that answer. Charlie Kirk was your friend. And people on the internet with absolutely no connection to Charlie Kirk have spent months diving into this. Months. So much time. But okay, you got questions? Let's go through them now. And his first question is actually a really good one, and one that I'm really interested in as well. There were social media posts that referenced Charlie Kirk before September 10th.
On September 10th, they posted on social media about it in really, really creepy ways, and none of those people have been held accountable, and I want to know why, and what did they know and when?
It'd be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September the 10th. That was on September the 3rd. On August the 6th, September 10th will be a very interesting day. This was done before September the 10th. This was in August. After the shooting, the same person said, "I plead the 5th."
There was reportedly a "We Did It" post right after Charlie Kirk was assassinated and pronounced dead. Another account allegedly predicted that something big was going to happen when Charlie Kirk came to campus. A TikTok reportedly posted the night before saying Charlie does not know what's coming tomorrow. This isn't a threat, it's a promise. And we have to keep in mind that some of these screenshots may have never been authenticated. And this is just one of my problems with this entire case. Big things happen, they get reported on, and then 3 days later, we move on like nothing happened, and these questions never get answered. No conclusion, no explanation, no nothing. But Andrew's next question gets even more interesting because it's about Lance Twiggs.
Was Lance Twiggs more involved than we currently know, right? We know that he's been given limited immunity for his testimony. It's going to be video testimony in the preliminary hearing. But how much did he know? And how much did he radicalize Tyler Robinson?
Yeah.
It seems, and I encourage everybody to go check it out, there's a Turkey Tom YouTube video where one of their friends that would hang out with them in their apartment seems to indicate that it was a really manic, disassociative, sort of morally corrupt, bankrupt environment that Tyler Robinson was living in, and Lance Twiggs seems to be the source for a lot of that. So did Tyler Robinson just do this crazy thing all on his own, or did Lance Twiggs put him up to it? Was he a co-conspirator? I want to know that.
Andrew wants to know if Lance Twiggs was more involved than we realize, which is a conspiracy. And we all know that he has been official narrative since day one. So I'm starting to wonder if after a year of them pushing the official narrative and realizing nobody is on their side, or at least a vast majority of people online are not on their side, and their agenda from the beginning has been to make it look like this was a left-wing radical, I'm starting to wonder if now they realize after the prelims, shoot, maybe we need to go the conspiracy route. And maybe now they're trying to frame it in a way that makes it their goal, which would be allegedly their goal, the left-wing radical narrative, but conspiracy style this time. Because they're not getting what they want with the official narrative route. So that's what I find interesting about him opening up that door. And the reason I say this is because the next part of the question he asked is if Lance radicalized Tyler, and was Lance a co-conspirator. So when you use the word radicalize, you're indicating and implying that Lance Twiggs has some sort of radicalized belief, which from day one is the agenda they've actually been wanting to push. And when I say they, I mean TPUSA. It's always been the left did this, the left did this. But here's a clip showing why some people may believe this about Lance Twiggs. I'm just going to let you listen to someone who claims to have known Lance and Tyler for years and what they had to say about them.
Afterwards, he went upstairs, at which point everyone started hearing loud thumping. Apparently, Lance had gone into a temper tantrum so intense that he was literally thrashing around on the floor, which hopefully was just a tantrum and not some kind of seizure, because at this point, Lance is really a prime candidate for that to happen. Their peer continues. After that, Lance went mental. I'd get to Lance and Tyler's place, and he'd be super wide-eyed with either a loopy grin or a rictus grin like the Joker, depending on his mood. The nest came back full force, and Lance started living downstairs full-time again. This is a picture of a kind of cleaned-up version. Imagine this type of mess, but denser and all over the living room and kitchen counters. He started playing on his DS and drawing stuff in, I think, PitchoChat, and scribbling it all out while giggling with the wide-eyed Joker smile. He'd either be doing this, or his experiments, or talking with ChatGPT day in and day out. He hardly ever slept. He also started leaving little papers around the house that he had scribbled on while doing that giggling thing. It's at this point that our leaker here sent an extensive set of pictures he'd taken of the state of the apartment and the notes Lance left around.
Andrew's next question actually surprised me.
One of the questions that is really tough for me is why were those darn rooftops so accessible? First of all, why set up a building where you can just like go over a railing and get on a rooftop? That's one question. Why were there not cops planted out there? That's another question. And why were there not people spotting those rooftops? Now, you might say, well, gee, Andrew, Turning Point had its own security. Well, guess what? The way you work with campuses is you only get to have immediate vicinity jurisdiction around the person that you're protecting. So I don't know what the exact distance was, but it's essentially like, let's say 30 feet around Charlie's perimeter was what our personal private security was able to take care of. So we were relying on campus PD to monitor the ingress, egress to the area and the rooftops. I want to know, why were they so accessible?
Why was that darn roof so accessible? That's a great question. Also, 30 feet? That shocks me. 30 feet, that's all they're required to do. I don't know how expensive security is, but I thought this was like some amazing security team. Like high-end security. Military grade security. What I don't like about this portion is I feel like this is a scapegoat for TPUSA. They're basically saying it is campus PD's fault. This job should have fallen to campus PD. Is there no accountability for the actual security team to follow up or make sure that that's being done? I don't know how any of that works. So that is literally just a question. But this part felt to me like Andrew making excuses and passing the buck off to campus PD.
Is where did Tyler Robinson go immediately after taking the shot, running off the rooftop, and tossing the gun into the forest? Where did he go? You know that,
is that weird?
The state has evidence that he was back on campus that night into the wee hours of September 11th, but where did he go immediately after? That's a big question.
So yeah, this is another big question. In the prelims, we see video of Tyler jumping off the roof and then coming back later that day, but nothing really about where he goes in between. So I do agree with Andrew's question. But yeah, Andrew, welcome to the party. People have been asking questions upon questions upon questions for almost a year now. Andrew actually explained the rooftop issue months ago. But now Andrew's asking, why were the rooftops so accessible? And then Andrew asks the question that he says might get him a little flack. The question that he says might get him in trouble. And I honestly cannot believe he is just now discussing this. The bullet.
And I know that I take a bunch of crap for this, but I want to know more about the rounds, the ammunition, the 30-06 rounds. I know that the comments are going to be filled with it was not a 30-06, blah, blah, blah. Well, the ATF report confirms it. The medical examiner confirms that it was. So I know that won't be enough for anybody, or at least a lot of people, but bear with me. Let's assume it was a 30-06. That is a powerful round.
It's a miracle.
How old were the rounds? Were they hollow tip? Were they full metal jacket? I want to know everything. The point is that they broke into a bunch of different pieces inside Charlie, and that's partly the explanation.
And before somebody says that the bullet didn't match Tyler's gun, that is not what the report says. It says they could not conclusively match it. Those are not the same thing. Do I think that that bullet wouldn't go straight through Charlie Kirk's neck? I think everybody thinks that. If you are someone who thinks it would not go through his neck, comment and explain to me how that bullet's not going through. And you can't use he ate vegetables or it's a miracle. Like, I legitimately would want an answer to that. So if you know an answer to that, comment it below. If you know the answers to any of Andrew's questions, put them in the comments. And I'm sorry, but the internet, understandably, almost a year later, is going to be like, excuse me, what? And they came for him in the comments, But Andrew's final question is where I really started to pay attention. Was there a larger network?
Finally, was there a larger network? We hear about,
You mean a
armed
conspiracy?
queers of SLC.
Oh, them.
They took down a bunch of their social media immediately after.
I heard.
Was there money? Was there outside sources?
Yeah.
Were there more people that were involved in planning this?
Andrew does mention the armed queers of SLC, which is why earlier I said I think that they're inevitably going to push this as a left-wing agenda. The conspiracy portion. They're already pushing the left-wing agenda. I just think now they're stepping into the conspiracy platform to try and successfully push that agenda. I do think it's worth looking into. He says that group disappeared after the assassination, just like the very beginning, like with all the other stuff that was showing up. I think that should actually be looked into as well. But as far as there being a larger network, I don't think it's as simple as Tyler Robinson pops on a roof, has 15 to 30 seconds in the prone position and takes the perfect shot. I just don't think it's that simple. Andrew isn't questioning whether Tyler Robinson was on the roof or not. He's still pushing portions of the official narrative. Almost every question he asks leads in like one direction, there being more to the story than what was presented at the prelims. What I think though is after months of watching the official narrative fail, did Turning Point finally realize that the unanswered questions weren't working? And as long as those questions still end with Tyler Robinson, radicalized shooter, and large left network, those questions are allowed to be asked. But I find the timing really interesting. People have been asking questions for months. They were called conspiracy theorists. They were told, wait for the evidence. Well, we waited, and now Andrew Kolvet has questions too. And now we have Andrew then versus Andrew now. And what bothers me is some of the questions Andrew is asking are questions previous Andrew has already answered or already explained. Why are some of the things Andrew explained months ago questions again? Apparently we're asking questions now.